So I absolutely love my Steam Deck. I use it every single day, but one thing that I don't love about the Steam Deck is how hot the temperatures can get. If I'm playing a demanding AAA game, something like Elden Ring, which I play basically every day on my Steam Deck, it's not uncommon for my temperatures to be in the mid 80s on the CPU and GPU. Now, that's totally fine, but as a PC gamer myself,
I'm something of a scientist myself.
I don't want my CPU and GPU to be in the mid 80s. That's just a bit hotter than I want them to be running at all the time. And I might play Elden Ring for a couple hours in a row while I'm plugged in. And so having the chips be that hot on average for long periods of time makes me a little bit worried about the longevity of the device. Is it okay in the short term? Yes. Is it okay in the midterm? Maybe. But is it okay in the long term? I'm not sure. So is there something that we can do to make the Steam Deck run a little bit cooler and hopefully make it last a little bit longer because we're not absolutely cooking the internals? Well, that's where this little thing comes in. I had a company called Binbok reach out to me and they said, hey, we make a Steam Deck fan, a little attachment. We'd like to send it out to you. Do you want to try it out? So I said, yeah, I'll test it. But full disclaimer, while they did send out this fan for free, they did not pay me any money and they have zero say over what I say about their product. It is in no way biasing me in this review. But basically all this is a little clip-on fan where you can stick it onto the back. It's got a fan right in there and a little kickstand on the bottom. And then you can turn on an extra fan and now you have two fans on your Steam Deck, theoretically lowering the temps on average. But is that true? Well, I did a bunch of testing, but before we go into it, let's first just talk about the fan itself. As far as build quality goes, it feels like it's well built. It's definitely plastic, but it feels like a very sturdy, very rigid plastic. They claim that it has a metal kickstand, and that is true. It does have a metal kickstand, but that's the only metal that I could find on the device. So this piece is metal, but the rest of it is plastic, but I wouldn't be worried about it. The plastic feels well built and it feels rugged. It feels like you're not gonna break it by accident. Taking it on and off your Steam Deck is super easy, but I would be concerned that it wouldn't fit if you had a skin. It might fit if you have a skin, but if you have a case, it probably wouldn't fit over the top of it because it is a pretty snug fit as is. It also has a separate battery, so it's not stealing any battery life from your Steam Deck, which I think is the way to go. I'm glad that they did it that way. And they claim it lasts 7 hours on a single charge, so that should be more than enough to get a lot of good gaming in, so that is great. It also has a USB Type-C port on the side where you can charge it when you need to charge. And then last thing, as far as hardware goes, they have this scroll wheel on the side, which is how you turn the fan on, and I actually really like it. It's got a super satisfying and tactile roll, and you can see it, you can click it, and then you hear it click. Now you can see the blue light turns on. That's an indicator that the fan is on, and if I scroll it up, there, I hope the mic is picking it up. Now the fan is on full tilt. This is at 100% right into the mic. It's probably pretty loud, so I'll stop doing that. And then you can scroll it down and turn it off. I actually really like that because it gives you full customization really easily on how fast you want this fan to run. So I think that's great. All right, with all that out of the way, now let's get into the temps, because it doesn't really matter if this is well-built hardware. If it doesn't cool the Steam Deck down, then who cares about it? So here's my testing. With everything totally stock, the stock Steam Deck fan curve and nothing on it, my CPU and GPU were averaging around 79 to 82 degrees when I was in Elden Ring, which is the game that I chose for this test because it's about as stressful of a game as the Steam Deck can handle. The Steam Deck's fan also settled in at around 52 to 5400. So this is our baseline temperatures. We're right around the low 80 degrees with the fan speed at 52 to 5400. When I put the fan attachment on at 100%, the CPU and GPU dropped to around 72 to 75 degrees, which is awesome. On average, that's like a 7-degree temperature change, so that's pretty cool. And the Steam Deck's fan lowered to 4000 because obviously the Steam Deck's fan is running based off the temperature, so as the temperature comes down, the Steam Deck's fan is also going to ramp down. Just based off of that, we can say that yes, the external fan does help keep the Steam Deck cooler, which should be a given, but so with some other coolers out there I've seen, it's not actually a given, so it's good that it actually does work at least somewhat. Now you could be saying 7 degrees doesn't really matter that much, and I'd say, yeah, I kind of agree, especially with how much extra noise it's creating. So then I kind of played around with it for a while, and I found the optimal mid-range as far as sound goes is with the external fan at about 50%, and here are the numbers for that. The CPU and GPU settled in at around 80 to 83 degrees. The Steam Deck's fan settled in at 52 to 5400 RPM. And at that level where I'm kind of trying to optimize for noise, for fan noise, you can tell the temperature is almost the exact same as the stock Steam Deck with no fan attached, and the Steam Deck fans are running at basically the same speed as with no fan attached. So I would call that totally and absolutely useless. There's no reason to run the external fan at 50% because it doesn't change the Steam Deck's fan curve, it doesn't change the temperature, and so all you're really doing is having a kickstand with a fan on it that doesn't do anything. So I would not recommend that. Here's where we get into things that I think were a little bit more interesting, at least for me. Let's see how cool we can actually get the device. If you didn't care about sound, which I think most people do, but if you were wearing big headphones or something and you didn't care about sound, you just wanted to cool your Steam Deck down as much as you could, what could you do? So first what I did is I set the stock Steam Deck fan to 100%, and then I let it run, and 100% is 7,000 RPM on the Steam Deck, and the CPU and GPU settled in at 72 to 74 degrees. So that's actually pretty cool. That's basically the same temperature as when we had the external fan set to 100, but the stock fan set to its stock curve, so it lowered. That's our baseline as far as if we don't care about noise and we just care about temperature. So what happens if we put the external fan and put that at 100% and the Steam Deck fan at 100%? This is sort of the best case temperature scenario, and let's see what we get. With both fans set to 100%, our CPU and GPU averaged out at around 67 to 70 degrees. I actually find that pretty impressive because if we look at the stock CPU and GPU temperatures running Elden Ring, they were in the low 80s. And so to have them be in the high 60s, you're talking about a real world 15-degree difference. The big caveat here is that's if you only care about temperature. The fans were incredibly loud. But like I said, if you didn't care about fan noise for whatever reason, you do get lower temperatures running the external fan with the internal fan than just running the internal fan. So it does work, that's great. And as much as I'm kind of surprised about Binbok's marketing, they said that you could get between 8 and 15 degrees cooler, and usually marketing kind of overstates what they're doing, but according to my testing, that actually seems to be accurate. It does seem like you can get about 8 to 15 degrees cooler, with the caveat being if you run the external fan at 100%. And now, let me tell you why you don't want to run it at 100%. The reason is, this fan is dramatically louder than the Steam Deck's fan. If you have the Steam Deck's fan set to 100%, it's loud. I'm giving it a perceived volume of about 6 out of 10. But if you run this out 100%, it is significantly louder, and I'll give it a perceived volume of 8 out of 10. Now this is just made up, but it's just to say that the stock Steam Deck fan is quite a bit quieter than this external fan. Kind of no surprise there, an external fan probably would be louder, but it's also a different hum that I find a little more obvious or a little bit more disruptive to the sound environment. I wanted to have a way so you could visualize my test data. So what I did here is I put temperature on the y-axis, and then on the x-axis, it's not really anything. It's kind of just separating each different testing category. And so you can see stock in green, it's running from 79 to 82 degrees. The external fan, the Binbok, at 100%, it's running from 72 to 75 degrees, so it's significantly cooler than stock. The Binbok at 50%, the external fan at 50%, it's running 80 to 83 degrees. So what I would say is that's almost identical to stock. I would put that in the standard variance. I wouldn't say that's any different than stock. And then the stock fan running at 100% is in the darker green, and you can see that's running from 72 to 74 degrees, so almost exactly the same as having the external fan be at 100%. And then having both fans at 100% is the best, as you can tell in the blue, and that got you the lowest temperature at 67 to 70 degrees. So like I said, if you want to have the lowest temperature possible, get this fan, then run both fans at 100%. And yeah, you're actually gonna get some pretty decent CPU and GPU temperatures, but at the cost of noise, and it is going to get really loud. Real quick, let me just show you what all of the tests sound like. This is with the mic about 2 or 3 inches away from the Steam Deck. And yeah, as you can tell, this fan is loud. Does it work? Yes, it does work as long as you're running it at 100%. If you're only wanting to run it at 50% for whatever reason, you're basically gonna get no improvements on temperature and no improvements on the Steam Deck fan running lower, so there's kind of no reason to do it. So as far as who would this product be good for, I would say very few people. The only people who I would recommend this for are people who want the lowest temperatures for a pretty cheap way to do it. I think this is like 40 bucks or something. The only people that I would recommend this for is people who want the lowest temperatures on their Steam Deck for whatever reason. Maybe they're trying to maximize some part of a game or whatever it is. It's people who want the lowest temperature without doing any modifications. So this, you can snap it on really easy. It doesn't harm your Steam Deck. It doesn't change anything about your Steam Deck. And it only costs 40 bucks. It's not that expensive. And it really does get lower temperatures. Now, who is it not for? Anybody who cares about sound, anyone who cares about noise, those people, you should not get it. And then also the people who don't really care about the Steam Deck's temperature also don't get it. I will say, I guess the only other selling point, and this is probably the reason why I'll keep using it, is not even the fan feature so much as the kickstand. I really wish that Valve would have just built in a kickstand into the Steam Deck, but they didn't, and so here we are, you need a separate kickstand. So that part I think is really nice. But yeah, as far as this device, I would say it is for a very niche amount of people who just want the lowest temperatures on their Steam Deck and they don't care about fan noise. I don't think that's very many people, but if that is you, then you have your product. Weirdly enough, I am someone who cares about temperatures, and so when I'm gaming with my headphones on, my noise canceling headphones, I'm definitely gonna put this on and drop the Steam Deck's temperature because I can and because it's just something easy and it doesn't cost anything for me to do. But like I said, this is probably a very small minority of people. All that being said, if you still want to pick one up for yourself for whatever reason, I'll leave a link down below and you can pick it up. But what do you guys think? I think they're trying to fix a problem, which the problem is that the Steam Deck runs too hot and too loud, or at least for me personally, or I would like it to run cooler and quieter. But the only thing it really fixes is that it can run too hot. It can keep it cooler, but it can't fix the problem of being too loud. So if you wanted it to be quieter, this isn't going to help you. It's only going to help you if you wanted it to run cooler. If they really wanted to get something that could be quieter and cooler at the same time, you'd have to put on a custom back plate that could be touching like maybe the heat sink or something, or at least have some thermal pads to be touching the heat sink, and then have a big metal, like a big copper heat diffuser on this. And then I think you could really lower the temperatures and have it lower the temperatures while the external fan is at a lower fan speed. But as it is, just doesn't really do that much. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you wanna see more in-depth Steam Deck and ROG Ally coverage, I got the Ally, I pre-ordered it. It should be in the mail right now, and I'm going to do a bunch of testing once it gets here. So if you wanna see that, hit the subscribe button. All right, I'll see you guys later. Peace.